Jealous SIL tried to poison me at my husband Harry's party after we announced my pregnancy. Her plan backfired terribly, and now she's facing jail time and a divorce. I'm 29, and I've been married to Harry for 7 years. I love our marriage, but I struggle with his sister Kayla, who constantly brings negativity into our lives. Initially, I liked Kayla, but over time, I've come to see her as incredibly negative, manipulative, and toxic. I've worked hard to stay on her good side, knowing what kind of person she is. In the past, Harry dated SIL's best friend when he was 17, but they broke up because he felt pressured by SIL. At 23, after another breakup, SIL tried to set him up with her friend, but he refused. This led to a big fight, and SIL went crying to their parents, who didn't take her side. When Harry and I met, his parents were supportive, but SIL was consistently cold towards me, often bringing up his exes and suggesting he reconnect with them. Harry found this behavior strange and asked her to stop, but SIL responded by taunting me about being jealous and insecure. During family dinners, SIL would purposely invite Harry's exes, claiming it was by accident. She also stalks my Instagram, checking my stories and criticizing my posts. When Harry and I decided to move in together, SIL urged him to break up with me, saying she could find someone better. Her comments hurt, especially since I had been kind to her. After our engagement, SIL's behavior worsened. When we announced it, she was quiet and then abruptly left the party. Later, she called Harry, upset that she wasn't the first to know. She sent me a message, almost threatening, demanding that I be a good wife to Harry since she had always been the only woman in his life. The message was so bizarre it almost made me cringe. I didn't even bother replying to her message and left it on read, which I know must have enraged her even more. SIL began to ignore me whenever she saw me, but still remained involved in wedding activities, like when I went dress shopping or had my bridal shower. Her criticisms of the wedding escalated, openly expressing her discontent with my choices despite my future mother-in-law and fiancé calling her out multiple times. One day, while discussing the centerpiece with my future mother-in-law, Kayla overheard and started mocking me, saying my choice lacked class and that she wanted Harry to marry someone better. This was the breaking point for me. I lost my composure and screamed at her, making it clear that I couldn't tolerate her constant taunts and criticisms any longer, and that she was no longer invited to our wedding. Kayla was shocked, gasping in disbelief as if she never expected me to stand up to her. Even my mother-in-law was furious and supported me. Later, Kayla reached out to Harry, complaining that I embarrassed her and insisting he should control me since I was going to be his wife. Harry firmly told her he supported my decision and that if she didn't apologize, she wouldn't be invited to the wedding. Reluctantly, she sent me a heartfelt apology, which I saw and again left unread. With all the wedding preparations, I was exhausted and didn't want to deal with her drama. In the end, she did attend the wedding to avoid bad-mouthing us later. Our wedding had a theme of pink hues and pastels, which everyone followed, including the guests. However, SIL showed up in a black floor-length gown with a veil as if attending a funeral. We were shocked. SIL went around telling everyone she was mourning losing her brother to another woman. During the reception, Harry noticed I was uncomfortable with SIL's outfit and confronted her. She tried to play the victim, saying she had the right to wear whatever she wanted and that I was too controlling. In the end, my mother-in-law and Harry asked her to leave when she wouldn't stop causing a scene. It was humiliating for me, and since then, I've steered clear of her. When I gave birth to my son Nate, I refused to let SIL near him. She tried to argue, but my husband and his parents supported my decision, understanding my reasons. 2 years ago, SIL had a miscarriage with her then-boyfriend Jamie, which deeply affected her. Harry and I felt sympathy since we had a child and decided to be more forgiving, inviting her to bond with Nate. Despite her behavior towards me, she was surprisingly sweet to our son. Initially, she seemed to have changed, but over time, she reverted to her old ways. She constantly complains about her tough life and blames ex-bosses or ex-friends for her problems. I've noticed she rarely admits fault and always tries to play the victim, seeking to get people on her side. This year, SIL decided to get married and invited everyone except us. Harry was shocked, especially since our relationship had seemed to be improving. When we asked her about it, she claimed she couldn't allow me to come because she feared I might try to upstage her wedding. I called her to ask why she thought that, given I had never done anything to her. Kayla argued that since she had worn all black to our wedding, she was worried I might do the same to hers, which was why she didn't want me there. I was furious at her manipulative behavior and told Harry about the situation. Harry spoke with his parents, and they decided to tell SIL that they would neither pay for her wedding nor attend it. This reduced SIL to tears, and she began blaming me for the fiasco. Harry told her she had no right to blame me after admitting her own mistake. Kayla justified her actions by saying our wedding was a long time ago and that I should get over it. When SIL realized Phil and Mill would still not pay for her wedding, she reached out to apologize and beg for forgiveness. I hate to admit it, but Kayla can be very sweet and persuasive when she wants something. I forgave her, wanting to move on from the past. Her wedding with Jamie went well, and we attended and had a good time. However, not even 6 months later, Kayla was at our doorstep complaining about her marriage falling apart. Harry and I let her stay with us for a few days, during which she vented for hours about Jamie. They were having trouble getting pregnant, and Kayla was blaming Jamie for everything. I tried to talk to her, but she insisted it was all her husband's fault. When she wasn't complaining about Jamie, she was fixated on our lives, often inventing issues that didn't exist. For example, I go to the gym every morning before work. Sometimes, if I'm running late, I take my work clothes to change after my workout. SIL noticed this and kept questioning me about it, like why I needed to go to the gym or why I took a bath. I explained that I liked maintaining my weight and didn't want to go to the office sweaty. She would purse her lips and nod, but seemed dissatisfied. Eventually, things improved between Kayla and Jamie, and she returned to live with him. One weekend, Harry and I went to lunch with Mill and Phil, and SIL and Jamie were also invited. We left our son Nate with a babysitter, as he usually got bored during lengthy adult conversations. During lunch, Mill mentioned a friend who had divorced her husband after he cheated and took half of his assets. SIL abruptly interrupted, asking Harry if we had signed a prenup before getting married. We stopped eating and looked at her, and she acted like I wasn't even there, staring at Harry expectantly. Harry, not one to mince words, told her directly that since we both earned well, we saw no reason to get a prenup. SIL snorted and began to say how there are so many cheaters around these days and that Harry could be blindsided at any moment. I took offense and asked her directly what she was insinuating. SIL then accused me of definitely meeting up with someone because I always carried a change of clothes. She claimed it was her duty as Harry's sister to warn him. I was shocked by her words. Phil and Mill immediately defended us, telling SIL to stop making baseless accusations and to stay out of other people's business. SIL, unfazed, insisted she was only looking out for her brother and even joked about whether our son Nate was really Harry's, since he didn't resemble him much. I watched Harry's face turn red with anger. I've never seen him this furious. He looked Kayla straight in the eye and told her that this was precisely why she wasn't a mother yet, because she didn't deserve to be one. He said Nate was better off in heaven than with someone like her. Kayla's mouth fell open in shock, and Mill and Phil stared silently as Harry berated her. He told Kayla she was a shameless person who tried to ruin everything because her own life was so pathetic and that she did nothing while he worked hard every day. Harry continued, saying instead of accusing me and questioning us about a prenup, she should focus on her own troubled marriage, as she was clearly projecting her own issues. Kayla broke down in tears, looking at Jamie for support, but he remained silent. I had never seen Harry lose his temper like this. Eventually, Kayla got up and ran to the washroom. Mill came over to calm Harry down as I held his hand, and he apologized for what his sister had said about our son. I nodded, understanding just how frustrating SIL could be. I was relieved that my husband stood up for me so publicly, especially after all I had endured from Kayla over the years. Once he calmed down, he apologized to Jamie but completely ignored Kayla. After that lunch, we decided to cut off contact with Kayla. Her behavior was not only affecting me, but also my husband. We blocked her on all platforms to prevent any further reach. Mill and Phil discussed the incident with us and agreed that Kayla had crossed a line this time. They could see how their usually calm son had lost his temper after Kayla's relentless provocations. It has been a year since we last spoke with her, and life has been peaceful since then. 2 months ago, I discovered I was pregnant, which was a complete surprise since we weren't actively trying. My husband and I felt incredibly blessed to be welcoming another family member. We decided to share the news on Harry's birthday, which was being celebrated with a big bash in Mill and Phil's backyard, with close family and friends invited. SIL must have heard about the party and decided to make an appearance. We were shocked to see her. SIL approached, hugged Harry, and expressed how much she had missed him and how sorry she was for their last conversation. Harry took my hand and told his sister that her apology should be directed to me for questioning my character. SIL nodded, turned to me, and apologized, saying she had been in therapy for the past few months and realized how wrong it was to humiliate me. Although I didn't believe her sincerity, I chose not to be rude in front of everyone and simply nodded. Mill and Phil checked in with us, saying they had no idea she would be coming and assured us they would ask her to leave if we were uncomfortable. Harry didn't want to create a scene, so we agreed to let her stay. Throughout the party, I noticed SIL laughing and mingling with everyone, which felt unusual. Her overly positive demeanor was out of character, but given her claim of attending therapy, I decided to give her the benefit of the doubt. When it was time to cut the cake, Harry gave a heartwarming speech about how he considered himself the luckiest man in the world, grateful for another year with a wife like me. His words made me blush with joy, and I couldn't help but appreciate the depth of our love, just as it was when we first started dating years ago. Then, Harry and I shared the exciting news with everyone. We were expecting another baby. There was a moment of stunned silence before everyone erupted in happiness. My mother cried and came over to hug me, while Phil had tears running down his face as he congratulated us. Everyone was thrilled for us and eagerly asked if we had picked out baby names yet. The only exception was SIL, who looked stunned. I thought she might just need a moment to process the news, but her expression quickly turned to irritation, and she walked away from us, clearly upset. I was concerned she might ruin yet another celebration, but I was soon distracted by others coming over to chat with me. When it was time to serve lunch, I stood up to help my in-laws bring out the food, but Rick and my parents insisted I stay seated and not lift a finger. I waited patiently in my seat for my husband to bring me a plate when SIL approached with a big smile. She had a plate of food and announced loudly that she wanted to personally serve me because she was so happy about my pregnancy. As she handed me the plate, she made a comment about wanting to make up for being rude in the past. I nodded and graciously accepted, though I was taken aback by her sudden change in demeanor. Just as I was about to eat, I noticed that SIL had included shrimp on my plate. Given that I am highly allergic to shrimp, I was shocked that she would serve this to me. Disappointed, I decided to get my own food. At that moment, Jamie came over to congratulate me and asked why I wasn't eating. I explained that SIL had given me shrimp by mistake. Jamie reassured me, took the plate from my hands, and said he liked shrimp and would take it for himself. He told me to get a new plate for me. I smiled, thanked him, and walked away. It wasn't even 5 minutes later when Jamie began to vomit and retch from the shrimp. Everyone stopped eating, concerned, and stared as he struggled to get up from his seat. Harry and Kayla rushed over to Jamie in alarm as he pointed to his plate and then to his throat. Our eyes widened in shock as we realized something was clearly wrong. Jamie then fainted, causing gasps of concern from everyone. Kayla quickly checked his plate and her face went pale. She turned to me and asked if I'd given my plate to her husband. I nodded amidst the chaos. An ambulance was called and Jamie was rushed to the hospital. Kayla was crying uncontrollably and glaring at me with anger. We later learned that Jamie had been poisoned. My heart nearly stopped when I heard this, knowing that the plate was originally meant for me. Whatever poison was in that food could have been fatal for me and my baby. Harry, Mill, Phil, and my parents don't yet know the full details. The police took the food as evidence since no one knew what caused Jamie's reaction. As I write this, Jamie is still recovering in the hospital while Kayla stays with him. My husband and I have been fielding calls from relatives asking about Jamie's condition and who might have poisoned him. Mill and Phil are so shaken they are staying at our house, fearful of returning to theirs. Everything was going so well until now, and I am terrified to tell everyone the plate was meant for me and that Kayla served it to Jamie. If this turns into an investigation, I may have to reveal the truth to the police. I feel immense guilt and am deeply worried about what SIL might do next, as she clearly has no qualms about trying to harm me. I can't bear the thought of her being around me or my children. I regret giving the plate to Jamie and potentially endangering him. Update 1. Wow, thank you for the thousands of comments on this post in just a few hours. I never expected such a response. My hands were shaking when I typed this earlier, and I haven't been able to sleep. Despite what people are saying, I do feel somewhat responsible for Jamie's incident. I should have just thrown the plate away, and I regret letting him take it. I keep crying, worrying about what might happen to him. My husband senses something is wrong and has been hovering near me, thinking I'm just worried. He doesn't know the full story about his sister. I agree with the comments suggesting I should calmly discuss everything with everyone. Mill and Phil have security cameras around their house, and since the party was in their backyard, they should be able to verify from the footage that Kayla served me that plate. I plan to talk to everyone tonight and will update you all afterward. Update 2. We talked, and I am incredibly grateful to have such supportive in-laws. Mill and Phil are staying with us and are already on board with checking the security footage. I gathered everyone, including Harry, at dinner to discuss something crucial. Taking a deep breath, I felt the weight of the situation heavy on my shoulders. With everyone seated, I recounted the events of the birthday party. How SIL had served me a plate with shrimp and how Jamie had inadvertently eaten it, resulting in his poisoning. The shock and disbelief on their faces mirrored my own emotions. Mill and Phil exchanged worried glances, their concern palpable, while Harry's expression shifted from confusion to anger. I expressed my fears about SIL's motives and her previous attempts to harm me, admitting my hesitation in sharing this due to the potential consequences for myself and our unborn child. Mill, being practical, immediately suggested checking the security camera footage, and Phil agreed, understanding the gravity of the situation. Harry, though visibly upset, remained silent as he absorbed the shocking revelation. After reviewing the footage, the truth was clear. The cameras showed SIL offering me the poisoned plate and the ensuing distress Jamie experienced. The evidence was undeniable, and the weight of it left no room for doubt. Emotions ran high as Harry, now fully aware of his sister's malicious intent, struggled to contain his anger. Mill and Phil were horrified by their daughter's actions and the lengths she went to create chaos. We sat in stunned silence, trying to understand why she would do something so heinous. In the wake of this revelation, my in-laws have decided to turn the evidence over to the police due to the seriousness of the matter. Phil and Harry plan to meet with Jamie once he recovers, as he is the one who needs to press charges against SIL. I'm uncertain about Jamie's reaction, and am overwhelmed with guilt for allowing him to take the poisoned plate. I can't sleep or eat properly, consumed by worry for his well-being. Update 3. Hi everyone, I'm back with a significant update. I know it's been a month since my last post, but as a pregnant woman, things have been quite overwhelming. First off, my in-laws handed over the recording to the police. After reviewing the evidence, Kayla was arrested. She didn't even attempt to deny the charges. She burst into tears and admitted everything. My husband spoke with Jamie, who was understandably shocked. He urged Jamie to press charges against his sister, emphasizing how sinister her actions were. Jamie not only decided to press charges, but also filed for divorce. Kayla reached out to Mill and Phil, crying and begging for their forgiveness. It turns out she's pregnant herself and tried to manipulate them into bailing her out, appealing to their sense of family for the sake of the grandchild. Phil firmly told her that they were done coddling her and that she needed to face the consequences of her actions. Mill is heartbroken about what her daughter has done, but acknowledges that forgiveness isn't possible given the severity of Kayla's actions. The police found evidence proving that Kayla tampered with the food with the intent to harm me, which tragically backfired and harmed Jamie instead. She's been charged with multiple offenses, including tampering with food, endangering life, and causing harm. She's been pleading with Jamie not to press charges, trying to shift the blame onto me, but Jamie is resolute in seeking justice. Her court hearing is approaching, and it seems unlikely she'll escape the consequences. As for my son and me, we're doing well. He's unaware of what happened with his aunt. Harry and I plan to eventually have a serious conversation with him to explain the situation, as we want him to understand and be aware of such circumstances. It will be a tough but necessary discussion. I'm also having regular ultrasound scans every 2 weeks as advised by my doctor. We've decided not to find out the baby's gender, preferring to keep it a surprise. My parents know about the situation with Kayla and have become very protective of me. They're worried about how this might affect my mental health during pregnancy and have encouraged me to start therapy. I agree with them. Despite trying to act normally, I've developed a deep-seated fear of eating outside food or anything I haven't prepared myself. My husband is incredibly supportive and is helping me through this fear. Hopefully, with time and therapy, I can overcome this irrational worry. Update 4. It's been 8 months since my last update. Kayla is now serving time in prison. She was found guilty of the charges. It's been a roller coaster of a year, but I'm finally at a place where I can share a bit of closure on the situation with Kayla. I didn't attend her court proceedings, but my in-laws kept me updated. Kayla admitted in court that her jealousy and desire to be the center of attention drove her actions. She confessed that she never wanted an outsider like me to marry her brother. Instead, she had hoped one of her close friends would marry him. Her jealousy intensified when we announced our pregnancy, especially since she was also pregnant and had suffered a miscarriage previously. She felt that our announcement overshadowed her own news, which led her to commit the awful act of tampering with my food. Kayla claimed she never intended to seriously harm me or the baby, only to cause enough trouble to send me to the hospital. Her plan backfired, resulting in Jamie being poisoned instead. Kayla's confession included a claim that because the poisoning was unintended and due to her hormonal state, she deserved a lighter sentence. Despite her attempt to justify her actions, the judge did not show leniency, and Kayla was sentenced to prison. Jamie's divorce from her was finalized, and he is now free from the toxic relationship. Over the past few months, Jamie and I have stayed in touch, and I've expressed my regret for the unintended harm. He has been understanding and reassured me that none of what happened was my fault. His forgiveness and kind words were a huge relief, helping me come to terms with the ordeal. On a happier note, Harry and I have welcomed a beautiful baby girl into our family. The arrival of our daughter has been a beacon of joy and healing for us. Our son, Nate, is thrilled to be a big brother and showers his little sister with affection. Watching them bond has been incredibly heartwarming. My parents and in-laws have been a tremendous support throughout this journey, helping us navigate the challenges and celebrate the joys of our growing family. Their love and support have been invaluable in helping us move forward and find peace. Thank you all for your support and kind words during this difficult time. It means so much to me. I'll keep you updated as we continue to navigate our new chapter as a family.